I'm making a couple of sets of fitted bookcases in the workshop this week, and as always the track saw makes short work of cutting the sheet goods down to size. So now we've got the elements of our little bookcase cut and ready to go. One of the things I always like to do is to mark up which goes where. For example, I know that this is going to be the front face, this is going to be the left side, and obviously this is going to be the right, and on the left here this is going to be against a wall, so I know I don't need to prepare that, so we can mark that up quickly and easily. So that's the left, oops, and which is the face edge. On the right hand side you can do the same. I know the first 6 inches are going to have another shelf abutting up to that, so right, and just remind myself which is the front edge. Also, we've got 4 sections here. 2 of these are going to be the top and bottom, and 2 are going to be the shelves. So I'll just mark up quickly S for shelf, T for top, and B for base. Now I'm joining the carcass together with dominoes for alignment and plenty of glue and a few screws, but you could just as easily be using biscuits or dowels. So with all the components identified, we can begin to cut our mortises for the loose tenons. There's no marking out to be done here, I'm just relying on the self-indexing pins on the domino for alignment. It's a process that works pretty well, but just to be on the safe side, I cut a wide mortise in the left and right sides of the carcass, and narrow mortises in the ends of the top and base. Again, just using the pins for reference. Now this particular cabinet's designed to have adjustable shelves on rows of holes like a kitchen cabinet. I'm using Festool's LR32 guide rail system for this. I do a lot of these sort of cabinets, so this is worthwhile for me. But if you don't do that many, if it's just a one-off, or in fact before I had that I just used a simple shelf pin drilling jig. It's a little Perspex template you can buy, about £20 or so. It comes with a drill bit that you use to drill accurate 1¼ inch 32mm spaced holes for shelf pins. I'll show you on this little piece of scrap. Obviously you could clamp the jig down. You do need to keep clearing the drill bit, and of course you don't get any dust collection. And honestly, it works fine. Now, Festool does have a set of edge guides and measuring bars that you're supposed to use with this system, and to be fair, if I was doing a run of cabinets, they'd be very good for consistency. But for one-offs like this, I just find it easier to set things out manually. I use a combination square to maintain the edge distance, and simple pencil marks on the guide rail. For our stop and start points. So with everything marked up, we can set about cutting our rows of holes. Now the entire 32mm system, and I'm doing air quotes with that, relies around making your carcass height a multiple of 32mm, which at 900mm these particular ones aren't. So I'm referencing the rails off the bottom edge of the carcass, with the top edge held firmly up against a set of bench dogs to prevent any movement. With our pencil marks on the rails, it's easy to see where we need to stop. Yeah, at least in theory. Yes, I allowed myself to be distracted by the cameras and quite literally missed my mark. As this is a painted cabinet, it's easy to put right with a bit of 2-pack resin. And while that's hardening, we can use the time to apply a length of lipping to the edges of our 2 shelves. Now these shelves are only 310mm wide, that's just over 12 inches, so the 18mm 3/4 inch shelf stock is absolutely fine strength-wise, but a deeper softwood lipping glued along the front edge and held in place with a few pins just makes them look nicer. Putting those aside for the glue to set, we can get back to my obvious mistake and sand down the filler, not forgetting to clear out the dust from the holes we need. So there you go. You know, they say the person who's never made a mistake has never made anything. Easily put right with a bit of Bondo and a bit of elbow grease. So, with the repairs made, we can begin the rather tedious process of painting, starting with a primer undercoat. You know, you hear all kinds of stories about MDF and how it's terrible stuff to work with, it gives you a terrible edge. People will offer you all kinds of advice about what's the best way to deal with it. Some guys use thin down PVA adhesive, some guys use a particular type of shellac based primer. I've never had a particular problem with it. I use MR MDF, that's moisture resistant MDF, it has this sort of slightly green core to it, and all I use is a regular water based primer undercoat, and I get the first coat on with the roller. Make sure you get a good clean bit of sanding on it after the first coat, and then just a second coat straight on top of that, and that's usually plenty. There's really not a great deal I can say about this, I just wish it was all completed this quickly in real life. After the primer comes a quick rub down of all components, followed by 2 coats of water-based acrylic in an eggshell finish. I don't have space for spraying, and to be perfectly honest, the finish you can achieve with careful application by a foam roller is really very good and with far less cleanup time than you'd have if you sprayed. So with everything touch dry and cleaned up, we can start our glue up. We already know that which face this is because we marked it all previously, and we know which is the top and the bottom because we did the same with those. So we can put them facing down. You'll notice that I've cleaned up the ends of the boards with a bit of sandpaper where they butt together, where the mortises are, to give the glue a bit more of a fighting chance. Now, this is more habitual than anything because the dominoes and the screws will provide a mechanical fixing that's perfectly strong enough. But if you're going to use glue, then you might as well use it on the wood, not just the paint. And you glue on both sides of the dominoes. You'll notice I have accidentally cut wide mortises in both faces. Whoops. Normally I'd do a narrow mortise in this and a wide one in this to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room, but something of this size doesn't really matter that much. So with the last piece of this very simple puzzle in place, we can tip it onto its back and clamp it up. checking as always for square as we do so. And once the glue's had a chance to set, we can unclamp it, drill it and pop in a few screws for some additional strength. Finally finishing off with a dab of filler into the screw holes. I've put a clean piece of board down over the workbench so we can carefully remember, as it's all painted up, tip the carcass over onto its front face and put on the back. The back is simply a piece of painted 6mm 1/4 inch MDF, and we're just planting it on and fixing it in place with narrow crown staples. There's no need to set it into a rebate, as the edges of this fitted or built-in bookcase will never be seen. Now we can fix some steel corner plates to the top corners of the carcass, screwed straight through the back and into the carcass itself for strength. We'll drill through these from the front to secure the bookcase to the wall, so it's worth taking a bit of care to get a good fixing on them. And finally we can fit our adjustable shelves. I like to use these clear plastic shelf supports with steel pins, as they're strong but discreet, and they're a good snug fit without any sloppiness, making the shelves easy to adjust yet strong and stable. And I'm going to end the video there just for today. It's a bit sudden, I know, but we're running quite long and I don't want to bore anybody. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you'd like to subscribe, you'll be notified when I post something new, usually on a Friday, and certainly the next episode of Beautiful Built-In Shelves will be up on YouTube this coming Friday. Hope to see you there. Take care. Bye.